First 3 hours of development, right? We were just sitting on stream and we were just making this game, trying to figure out what it could be, and trying to figure out what the tools could do, trying to figure out some of the extra logic, and really just rummaging around and just goofing off. And ultimately, we stepped in something that we thought was pretty interesting, right? Something that we hadn't really seen before as far as other games that we played, and thought, hey, why not just run with it? Why not just keep advancing it? And so in the second log, or the last one, I decided that, yeah, maybe I'll add a couple extra features that I think would be cool to it. But ultimately, it was about taking apart the puzzle and then putting it back together to try to see what pieces would fit best, and how I could fix it. And really, I think what I could boil that down to, or the two primary issues that I was facing, was the thermometer was a big issue, and also the difficulty.
It looks awfully easy.
Yeah, right now. But I think that's also kind of where I was at the time, just with my lack of skill and understanding of the game. So what I did is, just looked at the game really long and hard, and analyzed the things that I really liked, and took some extra criticism. And there was that one piece where there was those flying ships flying through the scene, and I thought that that was super cool. The fact that I could animate emitters, right, and have them flying across. I thought, hey, why not just put enemies into this? The game started to remind me, especially with the darkness, the kind of space theme that was happening, the fact that we called it Laser Man, it really reminded me of a retro game, Galaga. And what if I made a prequel to Galaga? Before you got into the spaceship, before you got into space. And that you were this captain of this ship who was maybe stranded in this landscape, and the only thing that you had was this maybe astronomical devices at your disposal. And that's where I started peeling together some of the books in my library, and found some old etchings, and found this one particular one that was this cool, really cool device. It was like a telescope, right? And I thought, hey, that looks a heck of a lot like a cannon. Why not make a giant version of it and stick it into the center of the map and say, all right, use this to defend yourself against the enemies, right? So that sounded like a pretty cool idea. Now we can maybe think of, a giant mountain-like structure, or you're in the basin of this mountain trying to evade all of the enemies attacking you. But at the same time, what might make it even more interesting is if I was able to pick up the meteorites that were falling into the screen. So what I could do is pick up the meteorites and then maybe insert them into the actual device, into the into the cannon. That might be pretty sweet. So I'll take this, and maybe that's how I manage ammo. So instead of getting infinite ammo like you do in Galaga, maybe you have to be super precious about it. And maybe you're constantly trying to find a balance between going out into the world and dodging and running around helpless and vulnerable to incoming attack. But at the same time, you're also trying to make sure that you're in the cannon long enough to be able to defend yourself, and make sure and manage the amount of enemies that are on the screen. So I thought that that might be pretty sweet, that I can, add extra items into the game, and, maybe if there was a way that I could do multiplayer, or have an additional, multiplayer where one person could be sitting in the cannon, another person could be running around. That could be a cool addition. I don't know if I could figure that out at some point. I don't think Dreams has that split screen multiplayer, but, a guy can dream, right? I know this one was a little bit short, especially a lot shorter than the last couple, but hopefully the shortest that I will make in the future. But in reality, there was just a lot of code, a lot of sitting, and a lot of staring at screens blankly, pretty much doing and looking at YouTube videos of how to do the stuff that I'm trying to do. And, it was definitely a big, painstaking, grueling process, but even just this little amount that I'm able to show you was a huge step in the right direction. In the next episode, we're really going to be tackling the construction of the astronomical device, the cannon, the telescope, whatever the heck you want to call it. But it's, definitely incredibly proud of my work there, and it's really exciting. Now, of course, the game is playable now. I can go in and I can play. I can shoot stuff. There are enemies. There are things that we can fire at, and it's shaped up a lot since, this part of the development. But I'm very excited to show off that next step. So hope you look forward to it as much as I do. Thanks.